First of the Indonesian riders on the grid. He's been a regular top 10 runner in his rookie campaign. He's also retired from 3 of the 4 races, so only 8 points on the board to date.
Yeah, this is his first season in Asian Talent Cup action, but the home crowd.
And also Raykat Fadilla, further back down the order, the likes of Herjan Firdaus, and also a little bit out of a position after qualifying, but don't be too surprised to see plenty of position changes right from the start in this class in particular. We expect to see that classic pack racing. The main question is whether Furusato can continue to show the kind of pace that he has been able to show throughout this 2021 Asia Talent Cup so far. Of course, a long time ago now.
Yeah, it is a long time since the opening rounds of the year in Qatar.
This 2021 season, and half of the season is taking place just in 4 days over the course of this weekend in Indonesia.
Yeah, and in this morning's practice sessions, it was Furusato that led the way by a couple of tenths of a second. So keep an eye out on the number 15 to the outside of the second row.
Furusato leads the championship 100 points out of 100. Can he maintain that unbeaten run over the course of the Indonesian round this weekend? Lights out on race 1 of 4 at the Mandalika International Circuit. And the immediate fast start is with Daniel Sharil, the pole sitter. Will watch out for Furusato, the number 15, cutting his way to try and claim the racing line in towards turn number 1, but he's going to get squeezed up there between 2 bikes. Another getting rather bullied in the run towards the first turn.
Yeah, it was making some progress. There was Hamada that was diving down the inside with the yellow helmet on the number 8 machine, but Furusato able to dust him aside as we came through the next couple of corners. He's up there inside the top 5. Really good start from Daniel Sharil from the pole position, able to convert that.
Yes, Furusato fighting his way back, as you say, up into it's the way. Very tight, as you'd expect, among that lead group. Just a second covering the top 10 riders, and a faller towards the second half of the group as they make their way through. And that's always one of those perils of the early laps of Asia Talent Cup. Although I have to say that the attrition hasn't been particularly high in this championship so far in 2021 over the course of the 2 weekends in Qatar. I think it might have been Hamada who we lost from that group. That's now confirmed on the screen. So Kanta Hamada, one of the pre-season favourites for this championship. It's going to be a first non-scoring race of the season for him. 5th in the series standings. He was also 5th position on the grid. The kind of race distance that those of you familiar with the World SBK paddock will used to be seeing for Supersport 300 as Hamada stalks his way away from the incident. This time we get to see it, and it's exactly as I suggested, a bit of bumping and boring there in towards turn 10.
Yeah, and it looks like he just might have gotten a bit of a punt from behind and helped into that exit, but for Hamada it's not going to make too much difference. He knows he's down and out, and he's got 3 races left for this weekend, or 3 races left for the season to be able to bounce back.
Yes, one by one though, his way towards the series lead. Our lead trio just jostling for position there, and it's Hongo, who was the race leader at the start of the previous sector, who's missed out there. I think missed the corner. So he's also up there now in the top position. Sharil then recovers your race lead. It's Furusato now on his case.
Number 6 machine, Thompson, he's been mentored by Damien Coughlan as well back in Australia, and a rider that has been highly regarded in the Aussie circles for the last couple of years. But obviously COVID over the course of the last 2 years has meant that it's been a fairly curtailed start to his international career, but good to see him able to get out here in the Asian Talent Cup for a full season and learn from the experiences. You can see at the front of the field though, Sharil's done a good job in these opening couple of laps. He's kept his nose clean, kept out of trouble, and he's got Furusato just behind him now, and advantage if you avoid getting yourself into a battle with the riders around you.
Yes, of course, the longest straight on the circuit, just over 500 metres in length, so it doesn't facilitate that kind of slipstream train in the same way it leads. But Furusato now right on his tail, so that 2/10 of a second, that quarter of a second advantage. He's going to go all the way around the outside here of the pole sitter Daniel Sharil to hit the front, and it's Furusato, the number 15, the 16-year-old, the unbeaten man from the 2021 Asia Talent Cup, could well take control, take the trophy in the Asia Talent Cup.
You can see Carter Thompson there on the number 6 trying to get down the inside. This is what's interesting in the final couple of corners. You can see there one of the other riders just running well right. That could be one of the key block passing opportunities. The Asia Talent Cup bikes, obviously very different kettle of fish, but you're going to see a lot of moves made into that section of the track, just trying to force the move almost at the front of the field. And Furusato, but Sharil is going to be able to use that slipstream, use Furusato as a little bit of a benchmark as well. We'll see if he's able
to fracture now, all the groups beginning to fracture, as you can see. We've got 6 riders at the head of the field, all separated by a second. Then we've got 2 riders rather isolated, 7/10 of a second back on the circuit. Herjan Firdaus, the number 10, who started down in 10th on the grid, who's now made his way up into 7th position. From 9th position down is a completely separate race. Best part of 5 seconds, in fact now 5.5 seconds seconds from 9th position down. They're all setting personal best laps on the current race leader, Taya Furusato. Then it's Hongo, Mie, Thompson and Denish completing your top 6 as they stand. 7th and 8th don't look like changing to be perfectly
nice and early, and he's been able to do a really good job with that in these early stages.
So your race leader pulling away out in front, or attempting to, and we've got Hurley and Dandy there who has gone down, and that looks like being in the second sector of lap number 4.
Yeah, it looks gets down in turn 7 just before you come to those.
Daniel Sharil is right on his tail once again. Mie, the fastest man around on lap 5, now at the apex, and then Mie aggressively moves across the path of his fellow countrymen to defend that race lead. So some good work there from the number 5.
Yeah, and for me, that's a good move from him. We saw him set a fastest lap last time around. He's done really well to bridge the gaps between that leading group over the course of this race. Anytime it looked like the leading 3 were stretching a little bit of a lead, he was able to close right up on them.
See here Azrian Deo, who we noticed running wide earlier on from the lead group, so it's a separate fight this for 7th position, and we have seen Herjan Ferdaus defending that P7 throughout this race. Frankly, Deo's been on his tail for the last couple of laps around. We complete lap 6, and Furusato has recovered the lead from Mie in 2nd position. Mie, though, we saw him not shy of passing his fellow Japanese youngster last time around, and he may well get the elbows out again to challenge down the inside and try and make a pass here. Sharil is sticking with them. He's in P3.
Yeah, Sharil got a good run down that start-finish straight, try and get close in the run into turn 1, but certainly for me, it looks like through the next section, this is where he was really strong last time around. We'll see if he's able to do the same on this lap, try and attack down in towards turn 10. We saw he was really late in the brakes into 10, caught the race leader Furusato by surprise, was able to overtake both Sharil and Furusato that time around. We'll see if he's close enough this time to try and take the lead.
Finish a little bit wide on the curves there, and Thompson and Hongo attempting to capitalise to make their way through. Less than 6/10 of a second now, covering your lead sextet as we make our way back down in towards turn 10. The action hotspot from a lap ago, still with Furusato, your lead rider. This is the fight further back down the field from 9th position down, and a couple of Indonesian riders in this group as well.
Yeah, and certainly we've got a lot of Indonesians in the field. We've got 5 or 6 riders from the home country here in this weekend's running, and we have seen quite a few Indonesians able to have good performances in the Asia Talent Cup over the years, and in this group you have to look at the likes of Buapa as well on that number 22 machine. Just lost a couple of spots there, but he's actually done pretty impressive at times through this season.
Yes, a couple of them making their Asia Talent Cup debuts this weekend as well. Raycat Fadilla, who had a minor fall. He was pushing on in qualifying a week ago, but did exceptionally well to take 9th position on the grid on his debut. And Raycat Fadilla, who 2nd position, then Denish, Thompson. Sharil's dropped all the way to 6th position. I think we're going to...
Which is pretty much about as fast as we've seen from him all the way through this race, and that's where we're seeing the leading group start to really fracture out.
And that's why we're seeing the live championship standings as well, because if Sharil were to finish down in 6th position, Furusato could potentially extend his lead to 48 points. Might be about to gain a position here, because Sharil is able to do without that toe from Furusato, because if he gets in front of the 2 riders directly in his path here, he's going to have something like a second to cover to 3rd position.
Yeah, still going to have a bit of ground to make up in that position, and that looks like well, another rider's gone down. It looks like it's down at turn 10, and we've seen a bit of action down there all the way through the running so far.
I think that's Timon has gone down on lap 8 of 16, so the Thai rider was on the fringes of the points, who was in that 5-way battle, and we're going to see the incident perhaps here, and it's going to be 2 riders involved. That's a straightforward situation of Timon, who has gone down and collected Turaki Buapa, I think that is, who was alongside him, and he has now remounted to continue on in the race, but clearly out of contention when you're in a pack race like that one, and that group has now become a 6-rider group instead of the 8 or so who were all involved.
Yeah, it's starting to split up a little bit, and the reason for that is you've got to try and make those attacks, and you can see there for both of those riders on the run down into 10. For Buapa, he was at least able to...
And left Qatar with a couple of points to his name. Looked set for his best result here today, fighting in that 8-rider group. And unfortunately, it's all come to nothing with an incident there also involving Buapa. Back to the front of him there, you can see the number 13, that's Denish on the outside. Sharil, the number 21, making his way through. And Qatar have been able to break away in the Asia Talent Cup. It's 0.6 of a second now, the gap to bridge for Daniel Sharil. A new personal best for Sharil last time around. He's just come across the line. That's Hongo who's gone down, coming off the final turn. So Hongo, who was one of the riders in the 4 riders, the
shame for Hongo, but we've seen that obviously in that second part of the group, the riders have to push on because they're seeing it start to split out, and he just runs out onto the green paint, and there is that bit of a kick off the curb there for him. You can see there the
level of the curve certainly different to the level of the track and the asphalt surface around the curve. I was saying earlier on, Steve, when we were watching free practice in Superbikes, we saw Jonathan Ray at one point come down off a curve and get all unsettled by it. These curves do seem to be particularly high here in Indonesia. This is a new venue, and we're talking about number 21. You can just see coming into the background of that shot there. He's leaving the 2 riders directly behind him. Further drift, Denish and Thompson. He's actually managed to make a gap of half a second on this lap around to the riders behind him, and another new personal best lap from Daniel Sharil, and he's now only 0.6 of a second behind Furusato out in front. Lap 11 of 16. There is still time for Sharil really to make this a 3-rider fight for those podium places.
This is where it's really important for Furusato to get his head down as well, because we've seen they stretch out a little bit of a lead over number 5 of Miyai as well at around about 0.3 of a second. So he is
an exceptional job to close back in on him. Here is Fadila Aditama, who we were talking about earlier on, the man who'll be taking his place in the Rookies Cup for 2020. 0.6 of a second. Sharil is right with them now, and within striking distance of making a pass on Mie for second position here. Still Furusato leading. Then we've got a second to Carter Thompson in P4 and Denish in P5, and behind them 9 seconds to Aditama and Fadila. A couple of Indonesian riders there scrapping it out for P6. Slight mistake there from Sharil. That's given a miss, but at the front of the field, we're seeing Furusato again in those low 1 minute 45s, but the fastest rider in the group is still Daniel Sharil, even with that mistake at the end of the lap. So Sharil closing back down on Mie and Furusato. As through on the inside comes Denish, Hakim Denish coming through.
Good results so far this year. 3 top 5s in the opening 2 rounds of the year in Qatar, so he's been adapting well to an Asian Talent Cup bike, running inside top 5 again in this race. Wants to come out in that battle, on top of that battle with Denish.
Completely shattered in that incident, to the extent that initially the prognosis was that it may well be an amputation. I understand stem cell surgery and so on was used to get Daniel Sharil rehabilitated. The fact that he's back on a bike at all is pretty incredible. 3 podiums in a row though, and that is his 8th podium in the Asia Talent Cup by my reckoning, and that really does take some doing. He really has done a brilliant job so far. This at the halfway mark of the 2021 Asia Talent Cup. 4 races still remaining, including this one, of course, but further back it is as tight as anything, from 2nd down to 6th in the series standings. Only 13 points between them, so anything that happens to the front runners in the championship, and that makes a major impression. We said that earlier on with Kanta Hamada going down, sitting 5th in the standings, and he is going to lose out here to the other riders around him in terms of points. Back to the front then, and it's Furusato who's leading. He looks to have consolidated his advantage on this latest lap around. A new personal best lap, that's why, to 1:44.922, and he stretches 4/10 out over Mie, which means that Sharil has got to go. He needs to leave Mie behind him, and he's got to stick with Furusato if he's to have hopes in the remainder of this race.
Yeah, nice clean move there by Sharil to take second spot in the run into turn 1, and now the key thing for him is to be able to make sure he's close enough to try and attack into turn 10. We saw that Mie was the rider that was able to attack into turn 10 earlier on. Sharil, for all the time he spent behind Furusato, we didn't really see him try and make a move on him.
Yes, the gap from 3rd to 4th last time around was extended by 1.5 seconds. So Carter Thompson and also Hakim Denish, there's no way that they're going to get back into actual podium contention from here. 1:46.5 and a 1:46.8 respectively, compared to that 44.9 from the race leader Furusato. Sharil and Mie have both responded on lap 13, and Furusato stands up, has a good look over his shoulder just to check how many people are in this group, and I can tell you you that unless one of these three riders goes down, these are going to be your podium trio. The question is, in what order?
Yeah, for Sada, that's another time we've seen him have that big look over his shoulder. He's not afraid of checking to see who's around him, and he's not trying to just keep his head down and focusing on his lap times. He wants to know what's happening around him. That shows he's probably got a little bit of pace in hand as well for these final 3.5 laps.
Yes, the top 5 in this race are all in the top 6 positions in the championship. Hamada, who crashed at turn 10 earlier on in this race, is the odd one out, and the top 3 in points terms, a tie at the moment between Gunmir and Hakim Denish, settled by the best result, which was Gunmir's second place in the opening race of this campaign, which means that the top 3 in the championship standings are the top 3 on track at present, and they are in the order they are in the championship, which would mean that the gaps between them all would continue to extend. 3 laps to go, and Sharil losing ground again around the first turn of lap 14 with a bit of an error.
Yeah, Fursad is trying to turn the wick up now as well at this stage, and last time around he was able to lose a couple of tenths of a second with that look over his shoulder to see who was around him, but he's still got a good amount of pace in hand. We'll see if he's able to really try and stretch out his lead now in this lap. He looks like he's got his head down, wants to try and really be aggressive and open up a bit of a gap. It was only 2 tenths of a second when they came across the line. It's up to half a second now.
Yes, as you can see on the screen, the gap to the leader, 8 tenths of a second for Mie in 3rd position, and it could very well turn into a duel between Sharil and Mie here for 2nd place, because Furusato really kicking on. Sharil responding around that latest sector and through the twistiest stuff and in towards turn 10. They're making their way now, the leaders, through turns 11 and 12. It switches on to the final sector as we switch back to the battles further down the order. Well, they've switched at just the right time. Dale making a lunge down the inside. I think that might have been of Aditama, and both of them have gone down and into the gravel trap. And Dale looks, Aditama looks none too pleased with Dale there after that ambitious move down the inside. Another incident at turn 10.
Yeah, for Aditama, that was out of 6th position, and on course for a really good performance here at his home round. See Carter Thompson then make a move through the fast right-handers at the end of the lap.
And this will be for 4th position as Hakim Denish loses a place. Carter Thompson then through back into P4. These two have been swapping and changing. I suspect that if we'd been watching just that battle, we would have seen another 100 of those overtaking manoeuvres. We're now on to the penultimate lap of the race for the leaders. Furusato 4 tenths of a second up ahead of Sharil, who's got in front of Mie and made a 3 tenths of a second advantage.
Yeah, you can see there Aditama there on the number 3 going down, and again, like you said, Alex, another move into turn 10. It's easy to be a little bit ambitious on the run into there, and just to have an instant like that at the front of the field, though. Furusato doing a good job now just to keep that lead at around about 3 tenths of a second. Sharil's digging in. Last time around in the final sector, he did close back to within a couple of tenths of a second, but it's really difficult to try and close that gap then in Furusato.
And haven't we seen that already in 2021 in the Asian Talent Cup? Furusato happy to lead at the front of the field, happy to try and break his rivals for pure pace, not too worried about the slipstream advantage that's given to the riders behind him, because he knows he's got an inherent pace advantage. He wasn't able to show it in qualifying here a week ago, but thanks to the free practice sessions as well earlier on today, he's clearly got to grips with this 4.3 kilometre Mandalika International Circuit, our first ever race here around this venue, and it's in the Asian Talent Cup. But it looks like the one thing that hasn't changed is our race leader. Furusato out in front, looking set to extend his series lead.
Yeah, Sharil's doing a good job in this lap though, holding with him, and he's a 10th of a second faster so far, but the clock is winding down all the way. It's really important now for Sharil to get close enough to try and attack into turn 1.
It's looking as though it's going to be the same top 2 for 3 races in a row. We had this finishing order between Furusato and Daniel Sharil in both of the races at the Doha Grand Prix. Furusato has had only 1 finishing position in 2021, and they've all been worth 25 championship points. Sharil then 2 tenths further down, and we've got a fall, and is that Denish? Yes, it is. It's Denish who's gone down in his fight with Carter Thompson. Last time over the line, he was in front, I think, of Thompson in the battle for 4th place. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, keep an eye in the background, and you're going to see for Denish, just tries to be a little bit aggressive through that last corner, trying to make sure he's able to close up on Carter Thompson to set up a move on the final lap. and just asks a bit too much of his Honda machinery.
Yes, now look at the leaders. It's to the second between them on this final lap. Shireel has managed to find something a little bit special, a little bit extra. He was stuck down in 6th position at one stage. He's fought his way through onto the tail of Furusato. Furusato still unbeaten in 2021. Daniel Shireel might be about to have a go at stopping that from being the scenario. They make their way now in towards turn 10. This has been an action hotspot all race long. It's been an incident hotspot all race long as well. Furusato there defending to the inside. It's going to be single file through here. Turns 11 and 12 in towards the final sector. Shireel chooses now down the inside into 12. Catches Furusato by surprise. Opportunity for Furusato on the number 15 here to make a recovery in similar fashion as they come off 13 and 14. What about a lunge into turn 16, the slowest corner on the circuit? Daniel Shireel looking for his first race victory since his return to the Asia Talent Cup. He was last a winner in Thailand 2018. He's fighting for the lead here against Furusato, the championship leader, who goes soaring around the outside bravely. 2 turns to go. 16 and now 17. They come through the left-hander, and it's Furusato who once again leads. It is Taiyo Furusato of Japan to make it 5 wins out of 5, and the inaugural race victory at the Mandalika International Circuit goes to Taiyo Furusato. The first time this season that he's been off pole position, the first time he's ever been off pole position in the Asia Talent Cup, but he doesn't disappoint. He comes through to the front. He leads almost throughout. Daniel Shireel was disappointed with that, shaking his head, head in his hands practically as he made his way back in towards turn number 1. Shireel second best, but only by 2/10 of a second. That's 3 races in a row now where he's tried to give Furusato a real run for his money. Gumie with his 3rd podium finish of this 2021 campaign, 2nd time that he's finished in P3. Carter Thompson, an isolated 4th position in the end after late drama for Hakim Denish. So it does look as though we're only going to have 14 finishers to this race. I think I cursed it earlier on when I said that there hadn't been that many retirements in the Asian Talent Cup in 2021. And that means that Fadilla on the Raycat Fadilla making his debut in the Asia Talent Cup is a strong performer, the Indonesian rider with P5 ahead of Herjan Ferdaus, who takes P6, and Shireel, Pertama, Fujita and Buapa eventually remounting to come home for 10th place. So a bit of wacky races at times, but the one thing that was, as we might have anticipated before the lights went out, a fine victory that from Furusato, bowled around that final sector in particular.
Yeah, Furusato coming through from the 2nd row of the grid, and he'll have to do the same again in tomorrow morning's race, but certainly for him he was able to show once again the talent that he has on offer. That last corner move that he made through the long right-handers, the ever-decreasing radius right-handers, it really was impressive. That took the breath away, really, and Daniel Shireel did nothing wrong during the course of that race. He holds the right line on the run into those right-handers. You saw him whenever he came across the line, he had to look up to the skies and just think, what do I have to do to win a race?
And aggressive when he needed to be as well through turn 12. I wasn't expecting really to see a move there, but Shireel got close enough to try and strike and capitalised on the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think for Shireel, put everything he could onto this and left it all on the track, and we saw that he was able to set fast lap times to bridge himself back up to the 2 race leaders. But ultimately in that final lap, Furusato just had that little bit in hand, and really daring move by Furusato. But that's why he's the rider that's already guaranteed to be on the World Championship grid next year.
This is one of the men of the moment as far as the Indonesian spectators here this weekend will be concerned. Raycat Fadilla, the number 24, on his Asia Talent Cup debut, and coming home for 5th position. A couple of Indonesian riders scoring decent points here today, and every reason then for the spectators to be satisfied, and hopefully their riders will come back for more here over the course of this weekend. We've still got 3 races to go in the Asia Talent Cup for 2021, and indeed for this Indonesian round. We've got effectively 2 rounds this weekend, round 3 and round 4 of the Asia Talent Cup, with 4 races, as I say, in total. So Daniel Shireel is paddling his way back towards the podium area. We will have celebrations with our top trio. But Furusato, as far as he's concerned, another race victory. It's only 5 points gained, damage limitation for Daniel Shireel. But if he is a race winner here tomorrow, that will be enough to seal the Asia Talent Cup.
Yeah, and certainly you wouldn't bet against it for Furusato with the form that he's been in, and just the manner in which he was able to take that race victory. And could well be the latest Asia Talent Cup champion as early as the opening race of tomorrow. And certainly from that point on, it's going to be very difficult different weekend as well, because we also have a qualifying session tomorrow morning, and that'll set the grid then for race 3 and 4 this weekend.
Yes, we're watching a future Grand Prix rider, and don't we know it, the way he carried himself in that race.
Yeah, he looked like he had it in hand all the way through, and that last lap move, to be that cool and calm after being stuffed down the inside through the fast corners in the middle of the lap, that really does show that he's able to keep a cool head, and that's what you want to see in the Asian Talent Cup from these riders. This is one of the big talent pools that's available to the Grand Prix paddock and to the Superbike World Championship as well, and certainly on their road to MotoGP, he's been able to show just how good he can be. Even if you think back to last year, he actually led both races in Qatar on the last lap, but got caught out. He hasn't been caught out this year.
Plenty of character being shown by Daniel Sharil as well today. The number 21 coming home for another second position. That's 3 in a row for him. The wait continues for a first victory since 2018. But as I say, plenty of character, and that's not surprising given his remarkable story, as I mentioned at the top of the programme.
Yeah, it really has been impressive to see the recovery that he's made from those injuries in Sepang a few years ago, and we saw in this race again that he's got the heart to try and keep himself in it, and certainly Furasada is going to want to get that championship run as early as possible, and that'll be race 2 tomorrow.
On the evidence of what we've just seen, if anyone's going to stop Furasada over the course of this weekend, it will be Sharil, and it would be, to be perfectly honest, fitting to see him get a race victory at some stage in this 2021 Asia Talent Cup.
Well, you can't bet against Gunmaye as well, because he was very impressive in this race. We saw him able to set a series of fastest laps and come through that leading pack in the early stages, so he's going to feel that he's got a chance of being able to close up and really challenge tomorrow as well. But certainly Daniel Sharil looks like, from that pole position in particular, that he's going to have a good chance of being able to try and take the fight once again to Furasada.
It's got Mie taking the third position in race 1. Just lacked a little bit of pace in the closing stages, dropped off on those last 2.5 laps, and eventually finishes 1.4 seconds down. But he was able to take the fight to Furasato until, well, the first 13, 14 laps, frankly, on the number 5. And we saw him fighting his way through at one stage to hit the front as well, tried to unsettle Furasato, but he is a cool head, is the youngster, just 16 years of age, your race winner. Second place going the way of Daniel Sharil, and your race winner, the number 15 of Tayo Furasato. Second place, and the trophy being given to Daniel Sharil. It's second place in a row, so he's only lost 15 points over the last 3 races. The majority of the deficit comes from the opening 2 of the season. And Daniel Sharil, number 21, finished in 7th position and 6th in the opening 2 rounds of his return, his comeback event, effectively, the Qatar Grand Prix. Gap then is 46 points. Furasato, once again, your race winner.
The opening race of tomorrow as well, so we'll see if he's able to get across the line and claim that championship.
Tayo Furasato is your race 1 winner here at the Indonesian round 3 of the 2021 Asia Talent Cup. 0.2 of a second is winning margin over Daniel Sharil after a bold last lap outside overtake through turns 15 and 16 to recover the lead from Sharil, who'd fought his way through. Gunmaye taking best of the rest, P3 for him. He was at one stage a race leader. Only 14 finishers. Good to see some Indonesian riders in the points here today as well, including Rekat Fadila on his debut in the Asia Talent Cup, coming home for P5, and he looked very satisfied with that, and I think it was almost as if he had earned a podium here today. Plenty of retirements, as we said, 7 of them in total, and the most relevant in the context of the championship was Hakim Danish. Now, Danish, who was a podium finisher in 3 of the opening 4 races of this season, was tied with Gunmaye in the championship standings for 3rd overall, and he is the rider who drops back as Carter Thompson makes progress into 4th in the standings. Your top 3 in race 1 here at the Indonesian round, your top 3 in the championship. Furasato leading the way on 125.46 up on Daniel Sharil, 2nd on 79, and Gunmaye 3rd on 73. A victory here tomorrow for Tayo Furasato, and he will have claimed the Asia Talent Cup for 2021. But Sharil and Mie, who were on the podium today, will hope to have another go. And remember, again, Tayo Furasato will have to start from 6th position for race 2 tomorrow morning. Separate qualifying will take place tomorrow morning as well. That will determine the grid for races 3 and 4 of the weekend, which is round 4 of the 2021 Asia Talent Cup. Still here in Indonesia, of course, 4 races in 4 days. Race 2 then from the Indonesian